Good morning, Nuts and Bolts listener, and welcome to another Friday edition of a very interesting topic. We have a very special and dear friend of mine as a guest speaker, Hanna Kok, and I'll introduce her to you in a moment. But just as a reminder, this is recorded on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, so you can always replay it, re-listen, and obviously share it with individuals. So Hanna Kok and I had met at a networking function, and it was like just this instant connection where you speak about the same things, you have the same passion, not many words are needed, and you just know there's a deep synergy amongst each other. And Hanna Kok is an amazing coach who is also a qualified allergy practitioner, which I think is an exceptionally interesting job and career without realizing it, how much we know allergies impact our lives. I mean, I think until I didn't speak to Hanna, I never realized how much that really impacts our lives. She's got 25 years working experiences and is very, very passionate about body and mind connection. So hence we share the same passion. She has an app called Affirmations. And if you go and look on her website, it's really interesting, this web-based app on how affirmations help us to really reprogram our biases and thinking and help us to really shift. And Hannah's had immense successes and has case studies to show how much these have helped. So there you can always check those out. And if she hasn't done enough, she's also still an author. So Hanna is a very busy lady. So I'm very, very honored and privileged to have her today on our special live stream here. I know for most of you, the topic sounds a bit unusual about period nightmares, and you're wondering, how does that really fit into the business environment, or how does that impact me as a leader or as a business owner? But most of you do have wives, girlfriends, daughters, sisters, and any other female companions in your lives. So if you do, you actually are very familiar about period nightmares and what it means for women to go through. But we often don't talk about this topic. And even for women, we often live our lives around it without subconsciously realizing it. So hence we brought in this topic today, and Hannah's going to really share what it all means and how it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female, how we can find solutions to really support one another in it. So not wanting to steal more time, Hanna, welcome, and it's all over to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for this amazing introduction. I really, really appreciate it, and I totally agree with you. When we met, we just clicked, and it is great that we can work together, this project and many others to come. So, as was said, I'm the Happy Ever After coach, and I love working with people to recreate their health and happiness. And my specialty is dealing with women's period nightmares. So you can go to the next slide. And I don't know, oh, that came out a little bit funny, but that's okay. For women, have you ever had that you wake up in the morning and go, oh, has it started? Did I bleed through my clothes? And that is just in bed, but it can be at work. That would be way worse as well. So next slide. And there is so much shame and embarrassment around it. As Kirsten was saying, we don't talk about it, but we live with it. And there's shame when things go wrong. Next slide. And there are many women. Did you know that 4 out of 10 women struggle with periods? They have period pains, they have heavy bleeding, They might need to use prescription painkillers, abnormal bleeding for days or sometimes even weeks, which then leaves them feeling exhausted and wiped out, and their life is ruled by periods. I mean,
Mm.
one lady told me how she would put her periods in her calendar, and then she would make sure that she had no important meetings or travel or anything that was really important in those days, because she knew
Wow.
she was just non-functional those days. Yeah. Next slide. Now, this picture you can't see so nicely, but this woman yelling so much at her husband, because some women can be their family's biggest nightmare that time of the month. And then the husband or the partner will wish that she could go to this deserted island just that time of the month so that he doesn't have to get it in his ear. Next slide. Then there are women that are a mess at work. They can be emotional, irrational, and then they're labeled as unprofessional. They could even miss 2 to 5 days a month work. Maybe they are at work, but then you have what you call presenteeism. They are at work, but non functional. And I want to tell you a story about this one. So I have a tenant, and I went over to have a look at her, speak to her about something, and I noticed her eyes were like half open, and she was walking so slowly that you think, is she going forwards or backwards? You know, she was like hardly moving. I said, "You don't look right." She says, "No, I'm having the worst period pains ever, and this is a really important time at work, and all I want to do is just sleep." I said,
Shame.
You're so lucky, because I have an amazing product, this app that I've got that Kirsten spoke about earlier. Why don't we put you on the app and see what happens? And she was game for anything, because she was like really non-functional. A few hours later, I saw her again, and she had a spring in her step and she was functional. And a month later, I spoke to her again and I said, "How's it going? How's your period?" She
Oh,
says, "It's
sorry.
been, no, that's okay." She says, "It's been a breeze." Within a month, she improved so much. Now you can go to the next slide. Perfect.
Sorry.
Then there are women with perimenopause. Now, this is the time leading up to menopause. And often these women can bleed for weeks, and they end up then with a hysterectomy. I mean, I think it's 1 in 3 women, or 1 in 6 women have a hysterectomy, which is
Sure.
just uncalled for before the age of 60. And I've coached women dealing with emotional issues that we've managed to stop the bleeding, and they did not need a hysterectomy. Okay, next slide.
I just want to pause there for a moment, Hannah, and butt in, because I remember when we spoke at one stage and you gave me that statistic and you said, 1 in 6 women have hysterectomies. And I thought it was interesting because it's somehow socially accepted. It's the norm for women to have hysterectomies.
Yeah,
But you were like saying to me, so would 1 out of 6 men be castrated? I mean, it's
yeah,
the
because
same, it's
I
the
think,
same principle. And the answer is no. I mean, who would ever do that? So I just thought it was such an interesting comparison to go, well, here it's okay, and here it's like a taboo topic. I would never even think about it. I mean,
yeah,
not that men
because
need to because of the periods, but it was just a very interesting comment that sat with me.
I'm glad that that hit home, because not all the women have a full hysterectomy, but half of those women have a full hysterectomy, and that is definitely comparable. You can draw the comparison with castration, definitely, definitely. Let's get, yeah. So I want to share the story with you of this amazing result we got with it's a major story with Major Euster. She used to have periods from hell. So that meant 5 to 11 days of heavy bleeding with the fear of leaking through her clothes. Now she's in the army surrounded by men, so that is extra embarrassing if you leak through your clothes. This would leave her feel depressed and insecure for that time of the month. And then the field trips were like in the picture. It's not like going camping where you have an ablution block. No, you had to go with a spade and toilet paper into the bush. Now, can you imagine if you're bleeding heavily having to do that? There's no running water to clean up afterwards. Then she had extreme migraines. They were so bad that time of the month that she needed an EpiPen to carry an EpiPen with her in case of emergency. She was on high dose of medication for blood pressure, for diuretics, and also for allergy medication because she actually came to me for allergies. And 2 to 5 days a month, she was non-functional either at home or at work, and so tired, extreme pain, and she was diagnosed by the gynecologist as stage 4 endometriosis. Endometriosis is where you've got like scar tissue growing in and around the uterus, and then things get attached to each other, and they are often a major cause for period problems. And this gynecologist has done many things with her, but no matter what they did, nothing really helped. But then she came to me for her allergies. So we can look at the next slide. She had been on allergy medication for 18 years, every day needing to take allergy medications, especially dust allergies is what she was struggling with. Within a month, she was off all allergy medication. And then we continued working for another 2 months. And so then the period pains came up because now we were talking still for another 2 months, but only twice a week. So it was not like every day. Twice a month, I mean, we spoke. And the side effects of her working with me was the bleeding stopped completely. Now, she was given a special, the Marina IUD, which is normal then to stop the bleeding. Now it stopped. Before it hadn't. Her medication for those other medications she was on reduced by more than 90%. She had no more period pains, no more migraines. She had so much energy that she surprises herself. She feels in charge of her life, and her field trips are a breeze. And the gynecologist is surprised and amazed by the results because he could never give her the results that she got now with working with me.
I mean, that's within 3 months. Let's be honest. It's a
Yeah,
very
yes,
short time period for such significant change.
exactly. Because we didn't work on the periods for 3 months. We were first dealt with the allergies and then only later and other stuff. And then it was, oh yeah, I also have period problems. It was actually maybe 6 weeks to 2 months before the period problems were addressed and disappeared. Yeah. Let's go to the next slide. So what I did with her was a drug-free, hormone-free, surgical-free method I used based on science. So let me share that with you of how that works. Let's go to the next slide. So the animation is not on the slide. So for many women that are in this situation, they feel there's no hope. They just have to live with it. They will consider this hysterectomy not to have to deal with these period pains. And I want to tell you, there is new life out there. And would you like to know my secret? Let me share with
Yes, I think
you.
we all do.
Yeah, let me share
For the
with
men
you.
who want to send their woman away when it's that
Yes,
time of the month,
absolutely.
and for the woman, we want to know the secret.
Exactly. And for the men at the end, I'll give you a website where you can send those women to. Because it's not always easy to raise this topic with a woman, especially if you say, is it that time of the month? They'll probably want to clap you because it's like so. But yeah, there is definitely hope. So let me tell you how it works. You can go to the next slide. I want to do an experiment with you. I want you to close your eyes and think for a moment of that you're standing next to an area which is like open sewer. like the smell. You can see the bits and pieces floating past. And just notice, how does your body feel in that moment? Now, let's wipe out that picture. Now think of being at your favorite holiday destination. And notice, how does your body feel now? How do your muscles feel now? Hey, Kirsten, how does your muscles feel now when you're thinking of that situation compared to the first
Oh,
one?
I want to just zoom there quickly, but totally different. I mean, it's a relaxing feeling, calm, peaceful, not this tensity in the gut.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's too very extreme. Yeah,
absolutely. And I
images.
took these two extremes on purpose, but just to show you how your body immediately responds to your thinking.
Mm.
And when your body is tense, can you imagine? I'm sure you can imagine that now the blood flow to those areas of the body is restricted. That means there's less nutrients going there, less oxygen, and it's more difficult to remove the toxins. So you have a buildup of toxins in the cells, which is not good for the health and the lifespan of those cells. Next slide. Now, you can't necessarily see the animation, but the whole idea is when you have an emotion. So imagine this is now your cell, and on the cell membranes, you have these receptors. And when you have an emotion, your body creates neuropeptides like the anger neuropeptide, and it will hook on the cell and trigger reactions within the cell. And then that's what happens. Now, when I work with a person, you can go to the next slide. What happens is we get those negative emotions to be removed. The people through forgiveness, reframing, so we don't have to rehash the past and talk endlessly about these emotions. Now we have the positive emotions, and now the cells become healthy and they heal themselves. Okay, next slide. So whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And I want to also share the science behind that with you. Next slide.
Mhm.
So you know the placebo effect, where you think, the people think they're getting medication and they get healthy, but in the meantime, all they got was a sugary pill. Now, have you ever heard of the nocebo? You can go to the next slide. The
Mhm.
nocebo, you can go on, is a situate next one. Yeah. So that is where you have something that is seemingly harmless that now becomes harmful because you think it is. And this is a story. This is a true story. It's a while ago. I think it was the beginning of early last century that this man died in a refrigerator cart. So at the end of the day, he was cleaning this refrigerator cart of the train, and he was locked in, and there was nobody there, and he couldn't get out, and he knew he was going to die. And as he was getting weaker and colder, he started to scribble on the wall of the cart. As you can see, I'm coming colder, still colder, nothing to do but wait. I am slowly freezing to death, half asleep now. I can hardly write. These may be my last words. And they were his last words. The next morning, they found him dead in this cart. But they were amazed because the cart was not switched on, it was
Mm.
disconnected. So that shows you how powerful his belief was, that all he could feel was the symptoms of being cold, and he died. Next slide. So we have a filter. Our conscious mind can process about 40 pieces of information per second. But the subconscious mind is bombarded with 40 million pieces of information per second. And that filtering is totally automatic, it's totally subconscious. And the filter is based on what you learned as you grew up, your experiences, and also what you're focusing on. It's a bit like, when you are driving on the car on the road and you're interested in white Ford Fiestas and you see just white Ford Fiestas everywhere, and you don't see the Porsches and you don't see any other cars but those that you are focusing on. So now, if you think you can't, you can go to the next slide. What
You
will
can't.
happen is you will filter out, the subconscious will filter out and give you all the valid reasons why you can't do something. The opposite is also true. You can go to the next slide. That you now think you can, it also will go to, oh, I can. And now you get all the ideas and possibilities and opportunities come your way that you can change. And you realize, hey, I can do this. So I want you to shift from, I can't do anything about this period pains, to realizing, yes, I can. And yes, you can. You can go to the next slide.
The power of language.
The power of language, absolutely. So I'm looking for women with period nightmares, so who have really problems of severe bleeding, pain, etc. And if they want to be part of my research, we can always look to coach them at a later stage. But I would like them to be part of my research, and the results have been amazing. The bit of information, the feedback that I've got back so far is a reduction in symptoms of, how much percent do you think you've seen an improvement?
In the
Kirsten, what?
reduction in symptoms?
Yeah.
Oh, knowing you, Hannah, I would guess at about 85%.
You are not spot on. 85% reduction. Yes, within 2 months.
Oh, that's
Only using my
phenomenal.
app. Only using the app, not even using the coaching.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So I'm looking for people to, join me in the research. Sign up. It's free. You get basically $111 worth of software free if you participate. Can go to the next slide. So listen out for partners complaining about their wives having mood swings, or it's that time of the month, or you notice people are missing work every month, or a woman is telling you about that she needs a hysterectomy. Please, what you can do for them is just go to the next slide. And this is a super easy website to remember, carefreeperiods.com. Send them there. They can sign up for the research. They need to fill in a questionnaire as they start. I give them access to the affirmations. This is the web-based app. There are specific ones for the period problems. They listen to it, preferably every night while they're sleeping softly for 3 months. But after each period, they give feedback. And most women, within a month, they have already seen a major improvement. So yeah, that's what I've got to say for today. There is hope, no need to suffer, period.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Hannah. I mean, if we hear what you did for Major Euster, and I mean, anybody who suffers with that and can share or feel that, we know how difficult that is. But I'm also thinking about business leaders and business owners who can identify this perhaps in their teams and don't want to really address this on a personal level or ask this very personal question, but can just support them and saying, look, I found this website. I've heard this live stream. How about you listen to it? Or how about this website? Go and look at it. Maybe it's of value to you. So really also then honoring that maybe the individual, the female or the male, the woman needs support, but without transgressing too much, going into a private conversation. So I think that's also very helpful to just jot down that website, and be able to give people resources on where to go.
Yeah, and I think a business owner can even send it out to everybody in the company, because the men have women in their lives.
Yes,
So then it's
yes,
not like, oh, I'm just sending it to the women.
yes.
That way it's even more neutral, and there is so much hope out there.
It's just part of bringing in that mental health, that care culture of, you know what, these are topics to talk about. We're all human beings. How can we support each other? How can we do things together? Because, I mean, if the numbers you are showing on the level of productivity, presenteeism, absenteeism, I mean, for any business owner, that has a direct impact on the bottom line. my colleague is not coming to work because it's that time of the month. I've got to do double the work. It's challenging for everybody else. So these are ways we can prevent it. So I know when we looked at the topic, it was like, whoa, how does this fit into the business world? But it so much fits into the business world. And so Hanna, thank you so much. We've gone a little bit over time. So Nuts and Bolts listeners, thank you so much for allowing us the extra time. I will, on the live stream afterwards, provide Hanna's details. If not, you've got the website address here. You'll always find her. And please reach out to her and either get the affirmations, which I know have helped significantly. Just give her a call, how she can help. And let's see how we can reduce this nightmare of period pains. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. Hanna, thank you so much for putting this time aside in your busy schedule. I very much appreciate and value you. And we'll all be connecting again next week, Friday, where I'll be talking about a topic which we'll announce on Monday. Otherwise, have an amazing weekend. Look after yourselves, stay positive, and just enjoy the special weekend ahead. Whatever you're going to do, hope there's some rest and recovery in there. Take good care and goodbye.